Hello, everybody. Hello, Eating PCs. Somebody asked, how do I notice, take care, attend to, become aware of what my body actually needs when another part of me, this is how the question went, when another part of me really wants to lose 30 pounds? Well, let's look at that question first and how it's worded. The assumption is there's some kind of potential problem or issue or difficulty or hardness, this how to, I don't know how to be mindful of what my body needs, especially when I just want to go over here and lose 30 pounds. There's something different about the lose 30 pounds activity. And I don't know exactly everything that the person is considering, but we all know what that's like to imagine from the outside in change, physical change, and kind of diet mentality, diet trauma, diet difficulty, post-traumatic diet stress syndrome, when there's a structure to follow. It's quite exacting. It's done in this particular way. And you might have experienced that maybe many times with all the various kinds of dietary approaches here, Googling diets, finding out diets, which diet to follow, tell me how to eat, what should I eat, what quantities should I eat it in, when should I be eating it, and all the different variations and theories and possibilities behind that, some of which have worked for people, some of which don't. We all know that. But so approaching it in that way, because my goal and my destination is losing 30 pounds. And we see what happens when this, as the person is saying, this part of me is activated and interested and involved in that. And it gets very singular and kind of focused only on this. My goal is to lose 30 pounds. Here I am on my way to losing 30 pounds. Many of us that come to this eating peace process that really want to understand and experience a peaceful relationship with food and eating, not a commanding one, wonder, how do we make a movement into that peaceful relationship? Because it seems like I'm either in total control, I'm managing, I'm thinking about it, I'm doing what I do. I might be extremely thin, I might be very heavy, but I'm managing and stressed and concerned about food and eating. Or I have I've taken the lid off. I have no structure and rules whatsoever. I'm off the wagon. I'm breaking out of the prison of that. I'm totally free to do whatever I want, and it's complete chaos, and both are stressful. And we've watched the dance and the balance between the two, well, not balance so much as just up, down, one is like a teeter-totter that people experience. And it just implies in the question alone, how do I be mindful of what my body needs when I also have this part that wants to lose 30 pounds? What I suggest is the way there's going to be a permanent abiding loss of 30 pounds, like a new way of being with food and eating, is to be mindful about what the body needs, to test and explore and be with that, to pay attention. People often think they can do that completely solo by their own research, by their own heady, kind of more academic focused research. I'm going to find out, and that's all wonderful. It can be pretty amazing to explore. But often, as we explore, it's very helpful to then receive guidance and support, because sometimes we don't know. Of all the multitudes of things that are spoken about with food and eating, sometimes we just don't know with this particular body and this particular physicality in this world, age, hormones, ability, DNA. What my assignment is to take care of this one, apparently. And of course, we're very, like, that's our job. And sometimes we don't know exactly based on all that's out there. I will say, I just recently finished a book. I won't even mention it here, actually, but because everybody already knows a theory behind it, which is mentioned in so many different arenas, which is that a lot of industrial food is created to be extremely inexpensive, very available, very palatable, interesting to most human beings, the taste buds, and kind of provide like very quick, easy fuel. And we all know that that's kind of come out as something that's really clear and obvious, that these kinds of industrial foods didn't really exist before the 1960s or so. Um, and so there was less diabetes and um, other ailments based on pure nutrition alone. So there is something to be said for just simply noticing, like that we're working with sometimes what people find that, like, how do I be mindful about what my body needs, is to notice that there's kind of a highly, pull. There's a great pull based on what the substance is made out of chemically that we are engaging in here, like in the physical world, that is I'm expecting myself to defy, or try to overcome, or just deal. And there's a lot of judgment, a lot of self-judgment around not being able to avoid cravings and then eating of the thing, fructose corn syrup and very, very refined flours and sugars and that kind of thing. So, I mean, sometimes it is just in a simple way really interesting to consider the freedom in being able to have something or not have something, like that you have choice. You're not, overrun and powerless and have no ability. But it doesn't seem like it, that you're kind of contending with something pretty strong. So a long time ago, I smoked for about a decade, and I was kind of an intermittent, funny smoker, not nonstop smoking all day because that was just too much for my sensitive body. But I did smoke in my late teens and 20s, and I could see that how incredibly addictive and pulling, whatever we calling addiction is, just that amazing crave and pull towards the chemicals that are all set up in the act of smoking tobacco. And that it would be, I could see there was going to be some suffering. I could tell, oh my God, this thing is not just smoking on the weekends, which was my typical type of experience, going days without it, but then definitely doing it with friends or anybody else that I knew who smoked, or kind of being in that activity and having that be a regular kind of process. And I would make excuses in my head, or just see it like, well, I don't smoke all day every day, which is true, and yet why smoke at all? And I could feel that thing existing. There's this money being spent. I know it's bad for me. There's things that are good for me about it, which is very, very interesting to sit with. Like, what is that? That's an act of being mindful, watching that I like, stepping away, taking a deep breath, having a break, just like we notice foods feel comforting. They taste so good. They feel comforting and soothing. And so there is something around noticing the pull towards that. And then we can ask ourselves, well, what's happening in that moment, in that situation, that I'm believing comfort's required? And one very interesting thing about smoking is that the absence of smoking feels uncomfortable. And so it becomes comfortable to smoke. But you have to start the process, like kind of throw it into the pot. Let's throw in this smoking tobacco. And then now we need to contend with that. And then when it's absent, I feel stressed, so I want to come back to do it. Some of the same things are happening with some types of food that we're choosing, sort of like a setup for And it's also very beautiful to look mindfully at, what am I stressed about? What's happening in that moment? Am I is there some experience of fear, anxiety, grief, powerlessness, kind of emptiness, hunger for something, so that I'm filling space with that, psychically, so that I'm involved and engaged um, in this movement, taking in and ingesting something in the world and having an experience there. So I can look mindfully at what's disturbing me. That's why we call it emotional eating, because it seems to relate to, I'm anxious or I'm very sad or lonely. That's my perspective. And so I want to eat to fill that space, to soothe the loneliness. Very powerful to look at that mindfully. Incredibly so. So this person says, how do I look mindfully what's happening when I want to lose 30 pounds? I just would say, in the most simple manner, they are not excluding themselves. They actually go together. Because if there's a balanced body weight to arrive at, and everybody's got one, you will arrive at sort of a balanced place, balanced mind, balanced body. It will naturally move into whatever weight loss is going to happen to move into that balanced body. So whether it's 30 pounds or whatever it is that is, sometimes the mind comes up with numbers that are a little aggressive and not really quite the right place, or, so we can actually, that's a whole nother topic of questioning what the number needs to be, but noticing that's even in the future. There's this future number place. There's this future thing that I've arrived at that I think I should be at, and that's the right weight, and anything above that is the wrong weight, or, and just, you can even question that. The most important thing is that now, today, in this moment, can I be safe as I mindfully look, or heartfully look? We can say almost with our hearts, being present to this day, present to this moment, willing to notice all the emotions and the energy that's happening around food and eating, and that something gets filled with cravings, something becomes full of wanting, and it thinks that this moment here isn't good enough, needs a little something in it, needs to be sweetened up, made more spicy, made more salty, and that it exists, that there's this very readily available, quick fixes. Just noticing all that, seeing that, aware of the sense of the offerings of the world when it comes to food and eating, and simply being willing to slow down and pause and wonder what's the most peaceful action here? What's the most peaceful experience and feeling before the action even happens? What's going on? Can I ask myself, with compassion, and be curious? Just welcome all this information and all this incoming, and the experience of having feelings and thoughts and food available, my perceptions and interpretations of life. But just to be this day, if I wasn't aware of that I'm going somewhere, like to that goal of losing 30 pounds, and I'm not coming from somewhere where I failed endlessly. That's all thoughts about the past. And I'm just here now in this moment, present, feeling. Just feel the feet and the body and the pulse of life, the way the heart is beating always, whether we're eating or not, or thinking or not, even when we're asleep. There's that life force that's just underway, that we are life force. That is the deepest sense of mindful being. The word mindful has gotten kind of interesting because it sounds like it's mindful. Sometimes we want to be mindless, but we do say, the way we say it in English at least, is I'm mindlessly eating. I'm not opening. I'm just doing something out of just really strong habit, just autopilot. I kind of pass this place that offers that kind of food, and I immediately want to go in because I've just seen it. And without fighting, without needing to fight anything like that that's incoming and showing up in my life, or something gets disrupted because a person seems to be upset with me or blaming, or I'm upset with myself. I have upset feelings or thoughts. These can all be questioned. It's the deepest sense of mindful being with what is. If I didn't judge, like final judgment, that this is wrong and untenable and I need to go to war with this, whatever it is, who would I be without the thought? As the fourth question of Byron Katie asks, who would I be without my story? Who am I without my story here? Noticing all that's involved. I remember like really seeing this in that time of quitting smoking. Same with quitting binge eating, and then having the craving rise, because that did happen. And like I'm questioning the thought, I can't handle this craving rising. I can't handle that. It has to stop. It's almost like a panic inside. This absolutely has to stop. I can't just stay with it. It's just getting stronger. But to see like, what is that belief talking about? Like, I'm unable to handle it. Maybe I'm not able to handle it, and that's okay, but it doesn't mean I have to take action. Just considering all that the incoming, huge, overwhelming amount of incoming information and sensations and situations all at once. But just now in the moment, who am I without my story, without the images of the future, of where I'm going, in the past, about where I've been? I just find that as we can be slower and relax with what is, when it comes to the body and food and eating, there will naturally be a more balanced experience of eating. And naturally, this weight loss, which we don't have to eliminate, that's a goal, this person is saying, somehow like it just implied a little bit that if there's mindful eating going on, I'm dropping the goal of weight loss, that we can hold them both, that the mindful, slowed down, peaceful kind of orientation towards food and eating will actually lead to balanced weight. And it may mean being very clear about what doesn't work in this body, which brings us back to the beginning, which I said, we can have a lot of information and kind of be aware and know, and sometimes it's helpful to have guidance that way. Just see, so that we can dare to experiment about what works with this body and relax with that. So in other words, instead of being, let's say you have diabetes, instead of being, I hate that I have diabetes. I wish I was one of those people that even if I was overweight, I didn't have diabetes because I don't want to not eat refined carbohydrates. It just sort of shows that it might work better if we don't have lots of refined carbohydrates, even less, of some natural sweetened things. And just that's okay. I have that assignment. That's this body. So I'm going to slow down and work with as best I can and be with that. And was it difficult when I stopped smoking? Was it difficult when I stopped binge eating? I just sort of my first commitment within, I will not binge eat. I'm open to being awake to that, to being mindful of what's happening in the moment, just to pause even for 5 seconds, to be willing to pause for 5 seconds and just see, wow, what am I experiencing right now? Bring curiosity in. Was that difficult? Yeah, there seemed like a churn, like a rainstorm. Right now, at the time of this recording, there's a huge hurricane we're hearing about that's in Cuba and Florida, and everybody's preparing for it. And we do the best we can. It's not as if we're in denial that there's a hurricane. It felt like that with the cravings, but a shockingly low number of times. So to be able to see and watch that craving, that moment when it would come in, oh, here it is. This is the time that I would pick up that, do the behavior because I'm uncomfortable. Something feels very uncomfortable. Who would I be without my story? Who would I be? What am I experiencing right now? Can I ride this out? I do the best I can. I put up the boards on the windows, and can I just ride this out without a lot of aggression? Just there it is, being the way it is. Nothing I can do about it. And a shockingly to not be so against that experience and relax. It was a shockingly shorter amount of time of anticipating and worrying about and wanting to be aggressive against that craving. So pretty soon it just was something that didn't occur to me. And that is it's a natural movement, a natural movement and a way to go that direction. Nothing's required. You don't need to aggressively do something. You don't need to hold back. You don't need to batten down the hatches anymore because it has passed. It's okay. And I do find, so that is the peaceful state where a goal of getting somewhere in the future is no longer necessary. It's just right here, right now. And balance seems to be the status quo, this place of balance. And if I notice any adjustments needing to happen over time, which have been a few times since binge eating has been over, you just, I wonder what's happening there with the food and eating, or taking this in, or just noticing shifts and changes. That's okay to make them, to explore a little, to learn and see what works and what doesn't. Just be easy about it and simple. Oh, that doesn't work. So we can drop it. If it feels like there's something, it's like, oh no, but I really want to have that. I want to eat it. I want to eat it. What an amazing place for self-inquiry. Just to see what the thoughts are that are right there. I can't handle this without eating that. My life is not fun unless I have that in it, etc. So we do the work. So just a great question today. Just watching that, basically in the short summary of the answer after a bit of talking here, is just they aren't excluding themselves. We can be mindful and be on our way to losing any extra weight. In fact, mindfulness is the short way to do that, to permanently losing the extra weight, to just having it no longer be a thing. It's no longer a thing. So, cravings are very interesting. I'm going to offer a craving kind of 2-hour workshop where we actually do the work on this, on cravings, on the time of this recording, Thursday, September 29th, from noon to 2 Pacific time. So try to hunt that down by just going to my website, workwithgrace.com. It's on the front page. And we'll save the recording too, so people can, enroll and be involved in that and follow along, even if you don't come live. That cravings moment, very powerful to work with and learn to be with it, so that you feel the sense of empowerment in a good way and solid, even though that storm is happening of craving. And you see what's going on there so that the mind can relax, and you don't take the mind so seriously and all the thinking that it's doing, just not so serious. And wow, what what an empowered feeling that is, to have the mind not be in charge of everything that's going on. So that's a wonderful feeling and a way to find the freedom in no longer doing something that seems also harmful. We don't have to have that mixed together, but how we are living and how we are being in relation to food and eating and whatever we're taking in is a peaceful experience. It has balance in it. You don't have to fight anything there. So that's possible for anyone. It's possible for anyone. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Great questions.